For Klamath Community Television News, I'm Christopher German for Monday, October 6th, 2025. For tonight's broadcast, the stories we're following for you. Oregon and California are engaged in a renewed legal battle against the Trump administration deployment of National Guard troops to Portland. And a gallon of regular unleaded gasoline has seen a recent decline, dropping by approximately 0.064 cents to an average of $4.09 per gallon. And we'll once again experience a hard freeze tonight with lows expected in the 30s, some areas even dropping into the 20s. You can also expect frosty conditions down in much of Siskiyou County. So make sure you tune in every morning for weather from the Skywatch Weather Center with weather from the basin for the basin. And tonight's news is brought to you by
KCTV is on fire. Last few weeks we've seen meteoric growth across our channel and our website. And unlike radio in Klamath County, we can actually measure how many people tune in to KCTV on a daily basis. Now is the perfect time to get involved with KCTV by getting your advertisement for just $100 for a 30-second ad. We'll even make it for you. All you have to do is call today to get your ad working on KCTV and reach across Klamath County. Call 541-880-4913. For the cost of dinner, you can reach over 5,000 people each week with your ad, but you have to call to start the process.
Our top story. Oregon and California are engaged in a renewed legal battle against the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops to Portland, asserting the move is an unlawful attempt to override a prior federal court's decision. The conflict escalated after a Trump-appointed U.S. District Judge Karen Immergut issued a temporary restraining order on Saturday that blocked the administration's plan to deploy the Oregon National Guard. Judge Immergut concluded that the relatively small localized protests outside the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement building did not warrant the use of federalized forces and that the deployment would likely violate Oregon's state sovereignty. She also found the president's description of Portland as war-ravaged to be factually unsupported. In response, the Trump administration attempted to circumvent the judge's ruling by deploying 300 federalized California National Guard personnel instead. These troops had been under federal control for a prior mission in Los Angeles. Oregon, the city of Portland, and the state of California quickly amended their lawsuit to seek a second, broader temporary restraining order to block the deployment of all Guard troops. The state's officials condemned the administration's action as a flagrant abuse of power. Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield stated that the redeployment was an attempt to work around the judge's clear order, emphasizing that Oregon will absolutely not be a party to the president's attempt to normalize the use of United States military in our American cities. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the deployment a breathtaking abuse of law and power, accusing the commander-in-chief of using the U.S. military as a political weapon against American citizens. The lawsuit specifically argues that the president's authority to deploy the National Guard is restricted to situations involving repelling an invasion, suppressing a rebellion, and enforcing federal laws, and firmly states that there is no rebellion in Portland. Furthermore, the filing contends that the president has no legal ground to redeploy the California Guard to Oregon for a new purpose, essentially holding the federalized Guard members hostage. Adding to the controversy, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson reported seeing federal agents engage in what he described as unjustified use of force and indiscriminate spraying of pepper spray and impact ammunition, which he believes is an aggressive approach to trying to inflame the situation. The president has pursued similar deployments in other major cities he characterized as rife with crime and unrest, including authorizing the deployment of 300 Illinois National Guard troops to Chicago, a move also opposed by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's office. The judge in the case did, in fact, grant the order, and they have stayed all the troops. And with the news that Klamath County Commissioner Kelly Minty has filed for re-election to the Board of Commissioners, Position number 2, the election season is now started in earnest. Both Derek DeGroot and Andy Nichols will keep their seats as their terms are not up for election this time around. But as the field of candidates grows, we thought it was time to take a look at what the May primary might look like. In the county clerk's office, Rochelle Long has decided that it's time to step back and has tapped her coworker, Daniel Beard, to run, as each of the seats is unopposed at this time, and Beard seems to have the best pedigree, having worked under Long since May of 2023. Anyone who decided to oppose him would have a heavy lift to convince voters that they were better than Beard. But the last day for elected incumbents to file is March 3rd, 2026, with the last day to file for the public being March 10th, so who knows who will file next. On the treasurer's side of the aisle, Vicki Noel has filed a run for county treasurer, also very well pedigreed with a degree in accounting and a master's in business administration, as well as incumbency on her side. Any challenger might have an equally heavy lift to vie for her position. And incumbent Nathan Bigby has filed for a run for the Klamath County Assessor. As the assessor, he has been in the office since 2017 and very likely will run unopposed for that seat as well. But with the primary on May 19th, 2026, and lots of time for challengers to file, we could see any number of candidates file for office. However, the malaise that was the 2024 primary, with a slate of 17 candidates running for commissioner positions and sheriff, we could use a quiet election to quell the ire of Klamath County and maybe just have a little business as usual to keep the peace. But as always, we invite any of the candidates to sit down for coffee to speak their mind with KCTV News Director, me, Christopher German. And as of October 2025, the Klamath Drainage District's Replumbing the Klamath project is moving forward with feasibility studies that has entered its second planning track. The effort gained urgency after the first Chinook salmon in over a century was recorded climbing the Keno Dam fish ladder in late September, prompting statements from KDD confirming their readiness for the fish. The feasibility of replumbing the Klamath plan is being analyzed with federal funding secured through Senator Jeff Merkley's office. The second track of the project began on October 1st, 2025 and will run through September 30th, 2027. The project will move beyond the installation of smaller fish screens at farm turnouts to modernize water delivery and with automated gates and a supervisory control and data acquisition system for real-time monitoring. This will improve efficiency and reliability for farmers. The project will also reconnect the Klamath River to the Lower Klamath National Wildlife Refuge to restore wetland habitat. The Bureau of Reclamation has already diverted significant water to the LKNWR and Tule Lake National Wildlife Refuge in 2025 due to wetter hydrological conditions. While the project promises benefits for both fish and irrigators, District Manager Scott White has reiterated that it depends on establishing protections for landowners under the ESA should protected fish species enter district canals. In May of 2025, the U.S. Department of Interior issued updated legal guidance that irrigators applauded as a significant policy change in their favor. It stated that federal actions regarding water diversion and delivery to the Klamath project were mandatory, not discretionary, potentially eliminating the ESA's application. However, in September of 2025, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals refused to dismiss a Klamath Irrigation District appeal as moot, stating that the allocation of water from Upper Klamath Lake was still a live issue, regardless of the federal government's new position on the ESA. The KDD's planning efforts were highlighted by the first sighting in over a century of a Chinook salmon successfully ascending the Keno Dam fish ladder in late September of 2025. This milestone, captured on video by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, signals the return of salmon to the Upper Klamath Basin following the removal of 4 dams downstream. Despite the positive sign for salmon, there are still significant environmental conflicts. The Klamath tribes in September 2025 raised warnings that A new federal proposal for allocating more water to irrigators in 2025 could threaten the endangered suckerfish. And the Oregon statewide average for a price of gallon of regular unleaded gasoline has seen a recent decline, dropping by approximately 0.64 cents as to an average of 4.09 per gallon. This weekly price drop is primarily attributed to the seasonal transition to the cheaper to produce winter blend fuel, which Oregon retailers are typically able to begin selling in mid-September, alongside a reduction in overall consumer demand following the end of the summer driving season. Despite this welcome decrease, the price remains considerably higher than it was a year ago. For comparison, the average price for regular gas in Oregon in early October of last year was around $3.66 per gallon. The difference highlights the persistent and elevated cost pressures facing the West Coast market. Oregon and the Pacific Northwest region consistently experience higher prices than much of the rest of the country due to unique market factors. The lack of oil refineries in Oregon means that the state is entirely dependent on fuel imported primarily from refineries in Washington and California, which adds significant transportation costs. Furthermore, the West Coast often operates with a very tight fuel supply, meaning any unplanned disruptions such as refinery maintenance outages or pipeline issues like the recent reported outage on the Olympic pipeline can immediately spike wholesale prices and pass that increased cost on to the consumer. State and local taxes, which are among the highest in the nation, also contribute to the elevated price at the pump. And in the September 2025 release of the U.S. News and World Report Best Colleges of 2026 rankings, Oregon Tech maintained its impressive standing as one of the nation's top universities across multiple categories. The university was recognized as the second best public college in the West, holding a prestigious regional position. Additionally, Oregon Tech's undergraduate engineering program was ranked nationally among the top 50. The rankings also highlight the university's commitment to student success and accessibility as it maintained its position in the top performers on social mobility category, which evaluates the enrollment and graduation rates of students who are recipients of Pell Grants. The annual evaluation, first published in 1983, reaffirms Oregon Tech's strong performance and consistent standing. And there's going to be a magnificent full moon for tonight in October of 2025. It's a special celestial event that combines two phenomena. It's both the harvest moon and a supermoon. The full moon phases officially occur at 11:48 Eastern Time on October 6th. And it is called the harvest moon because it occurs close to the autumn equinox, historically giving farmers extra moonlight to gather their crops. Its position in the sky will place it next to the stars of the constellation Pisces, with the planet Saturn visible gleaming to its upper right. Furthermore, this is a supermoon because the full moon phases coincides with the moon's closest approach to Earth in its 27-day orbit. This proximity means it will appear subtly larger and brighter than average full moon, especially as it is observed rising above the eastern horizon. And let's take a look at our weather now. Get ready for another chilly morning across the region. We'll once again experience a hard freeze with lows expected in the 30s and some areas even dropping into the 20s. You can also expect frosty conditions down in much of the Siskiyou County. The weather stays pleasant for the start of the week. Tuesday will be warm and sunny with high temperatures remaining slightly above normal. Wednesday continues the trend with bright and mostly sunny skies and highs settling closer to seasonal averages. The transition begins late Wednesday with clouds increasing and bringing a slight chance of showers overnight into Thursday. Finally, forecasters are keeping close watch on a possible storm system later in the week, but its timing and potential impacts for southern Oregon and northern California are still uncertain. We'll be sure to keep you updated as that forecast becomes clearer. And that's it for tonight. Tune in and get your views counted only at KCTV. And make sure you hit that subscribe button to KCTV on your favorite platform. And make sure you log on to KlamathCommunity.tv for the latest news, weather, lifestyle news, sports, all things that we have come to rely on, you can find at KlamathCommunity.tv. And you'll also find all of this news that I've been reading to you written out, and we will have that up there as well. So for KCTV News, I'm Christopher German. I have gotten rid of the music. I heard from a devoted viewer the other day that the music was getting a little bit too loud, or maybe it's a little too confusing, and we have a lot of senior residents around here. So I decided I'm going to get rid of the music for the whole newscast. I will put it in the beginning of this newscast, but I will not put it in the whole bigger portion of the newscast. It's Monday. We have all kinds of days to go before the weekend, but it's going to be a beautiful week, at least until Thursday, when we might get a little bit of rain possibly. But hey, once we're at Thursday, Friday is the next day after that, and we're good to go, right? So let's just take it easy and do what we can to get through till Friday. And as always, have yourselves a lovely week. Have yourselves a lovely week ahead. If you would like to sponsor this newscast, we are looking for a full-fledged sponsor, somebody that can help us pay some bills. We would encourage anybody, if you know a business, if you know of somebody that is looking to get some exposure. We're reaching about 5,000 people each week. If you know somebody that wants to get all of Klamath County behind their product or their service or whatever they're doing, have them reach out to us. And you can get me at 541-880-4913 or info@klamathcommunity.tv. Thank you so much for watching. Have a grand evening. Have a grand tomorrow. Have a grand week ahead. God bless you. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you guys again on Tuesday.